All right, today we're talking about 251 progressions because they are absolutely essential to live with if you want to play in the jazz style. Even not necessarily super jazzy stuff. 251 progressions are everywhere. I may want to mention that the 2 chord really takes the place of the 4 chord. So rather than having, you have this more this subtler resolution. So, well, the D minor is just a substitution for the 4 chord. It acts as a subdominant. Okay. And today, in this session, we're going to focus on the tritone substitution. Now, what is a tritone? If we play a G7, the tritone is right here between the 7th and the 3 of the chord, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And we go 3 tones. There it is. Right, and there's our tritone. And a tritone substitution is, I'm going to do this guitaristically because I think this explains it. The tritone, first of all, is really the thrust of a dominant 7 chord sound. So as you can hear here, I'm taking a tritone and I'm resolving it to a root and a third of a C chord. The 7 goes up, the 3 goes up, and the 7 falls down, right, when you're talking quarterly. Okay, so the tritone is really all you need to spell out a dominant 7th chord sound, especially if you have a bass player. You can do this, he does that, and bam, you've got a full chord. You don't need the 5th. All right. Now, but look at what happens here. Here's the tritone. We've established that it could be. It's the thrust of the chord, it wants to go back to the 1. But check this out. If I play it like this as the G7, and then I turn this around like this, and I put the D flat down there, the tritone doesn't change. I've got 2 D flats, and now all of a sudden the chord I have is a D flat, but it wants to do the same resolution. So we have D flat, there's our tritone. Same one we find in the G7, but now. So isn't that's a very satisfying resolution. And there's very little that's changed. In this case, there's just the one note that's changed. We have the A flat of the D flat 7 chord, and that resolves down to that chromatic resolution down to the 1 chord. How about we put the 2 chord in front of the tritone substitution? Okay, I'll do that again. So, as opposed to, right? So the real cool thing about the tritone substitution is that you end up with these chromatic movements in the lower voice. All right, and if I'm not playing the bass line, I would assume that very likely the bass player will be picking up that. Okay, so some of the voicings I'm going to use will not necessarily have the bass note. Okay, so here we go. How about we change that up a little bit? We get a little bit funky and use a D flat with raise 9, right? And so we're going to go from a 2, and then, right, look at that 13 there. It's just like a G, 13, right? Except I've got this flat 5. When I say flat 5, I mean if I were counting the notes from the Mixolydian mode of G, right? So that said, listen to the chord progression. I think it sounds great. How about a minor 9? How about, boy, that's rich. So that's a tritone substitution, right? Let's see if we can work another one out. How about like this one? This D flat 13. Okay, so let's try this. Let's try D minor. Right. Okay, or let's maybe work our way up. So 2, 5, 1. Can we fit a D flat in there? Here's our 2. D flat, right? Boy, that's pretty. Oh, yeah, sure. So the thing to do here is start to work these tritone substitutions, and remember that the another way to look at this is here the tritone always looks the same way. And there's the compensation for that string tuning. Tritone, 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 right? So here's my G7. A tritone away would be right there, right? Or always a tritone away. Here's another tritone. Now we're at the G7. Here's another tritone, and now we're at the D flat again, right? There we are. Okay, it works that way because a tritone is an equal division of the octave. Okay, so just to wrap this up, the previous video was about diatonic 2/5s, 2/5-1s. That means 2/5-1s that all fall into in the notes, the chords that are constructed from the C major scale. So the chords are all in the last session are all derived from the C major scale. But when we do a tritone substitution, right? Those chords aren't going to be derived from the scale, obviously, of C major, because there's no D flat in the C major scale. So I'm not going to do anything too crazy, other than say, let's say if we're doing D flat, the D flat would be the 5 chord in the key of G flat, right? And here's a G flat scale. So there's no doubt that that works, right? Right. So add a scale that relates directly to there's my flat 7, right? Right. So think of just think of D flat mixolydian for the you're going to end up with the same thing. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 flat 7, right? So now you're going to it should be boring, the D flat 7, the 5 chord that belongs in the key of G flat, but we're through the magic of tritone substitution. We've got that lovely resolution that is chromatic, and in one of the videos coming up, talking about 251s again, these are great in turnarounds. You can hear the bass line, right? As opposed to, right, which is a little on the, it's cool, but a little on the hokey side. Okay, so tritone substitutions create chromatic movement. And we call it a tritone because they're the two notes are 3 tones apart, and those 3 tones are the tritone is an equal division of the octave. You can see that here, right? If I take it here, now I've already got the octave, right? And then this note in the middle is going to divide the octave in half. Well, that's what these are about. Tritones act in crazy ways, but that'll give you an idea. You can work your way through that and listen to not only the top note, but also listen to the bass line. Okay, tritone substitutions in 251s. Put those together, make up your own stuff. Travel the fretboard. Do this all over the fretboard. Now, in order to keep it simple, I'm not using a bunch of altered, crazy scales and stuff. Not that some guys can't make that stuff sound fantastic, but before you start moving into altered scales and get really complicated, make sure that you can nail the chord sounds with what amounts to diatonic representations of those chords. Okay, that's it for this session. Next one, I'm looking at composite and parallel minor in the 251. That's when we get to some pretty cool, nice sounds. Well, these are all nice sounds. They're all lovely sounds, but this just gets a little bit more complicated. Okay, good. See you soon.